Hi, everyone. Welcome, family, friends, faculty, and graduates, to one of the most memorable days of our lives, the 2023 Class A exercises. Woo! Thank you, thank you, thank you. My name is Athena Yee, and I'm honored to serve as the class of 2023's first class marshal. It's truly incredible to be gathered here today for Class Day with all of you. For those of us who've been lucky enough to have spent 5 years as a Harvard student, or even 6 or 7 and so on, you're ending your Harvard careers in the same place you started it, in Tercentenary Theater. And for the rest of us who braved online classes our sophomore years, we didn't have the privilege of beginning our Harvard careers right here. 4 years ago, we sat under the Science Center Plaza tent because of a rain plan. I remember thinking back then sarcastically to myself, wow, what a great way to start off my college career. Our very first real Harvard tradition has been derailed because of the weather. I hope the next 4 years aren't as unusual as this. And even though it would have been easy to see the rain as a bad omen for the years to come, I reframed my thinking in a more optimistic light. Rain on important days can be a good omen, just like how it is on a wedding day. You see, there's a superstition that rain on a wedding day makes the knot of marriage tighter and therefore harder to untie. I mean, I wouldn't know, but parents, am I right? And in a way, this is true for us at Harvard. Over our past 4, 5, 6 years, whether we've liked it or not, we've tied a knot to this university. And I'm not talking about the knots in our stomachs before our organic chemistry midterms, or even the knots of the double Windsor ties I see out in the crowd today, or even the fact that we got into every single club we wanted to. Not, get it? I'm referencing the knot that we began tying when we decided to enroll in a small liberal arts school in Boston. Each year that we've spent here, this knot has gotten tighter, just like our bonds have with our friends, roommates, and professors. It's expanded, just like our hearts have, learning about the experiences and backgrounds of the many amazing people here. And it's strengthened, just like our minds have, in the halls of the Science Center, Emerson, and so many more. Dare I say, it has transformed us into the people we are today. And that knot we've tied with this location will forever be an integral part of our beings. So, as we burst the Harvard bubble and enter into the real world, I challenge you all to continue tying knots to the people and communities you love the most. These will be the relationships that make you the best person you can be. And now I have a knot in my chest saying goodbye to you all this week. Class of 2023, it has been an absolute privilege to share this community with you all for the past 4 years. Thank you for all of the shared laughs we've had in our dining halls, the tired waves we gave in passing in Lamont at 2 a.m., the motivation to serve this community through our club meetings, and so on. The knot that we've tied not only to this university, but to each other will last a lifetime. On behalf of this class to all of our loved ones in the crowd and afar, we would not be here today without the support of all of you, so thank you as well. Your love and intention have helped us graduate from, dare I say, the best college in the world. I would also like to thank my parents, Mei Chen and Zuen Yi, for making immeasurable sacrifices for me and my siblings. They immigrated to America 35 years ago with a dream of unlimited opportunity. And now they have the privilege of saying they raised 2 spectacular children, and also my sister. In all seriousness, though, thank you to my siblings, Alan and Angelina, for being my role models throughout life. My final thank yous goes to the 2023 class committee, for the endless work you all have done to make our last year on campus a blast. And to the Harvard Alumni Association and the Harvard College Fund, specifically John Prince and Cara Mia Brancati, for spearheading our committee with grace and generosity this past year. And with that, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing an A-list celebrity with an Instagram presence like no other. He is the Danoff Dean of Harvard College, the Marvin Bower Professor of Leadership Development at the Harvard Business School, and a professor of sociology in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. Please give a warm welcome to Dean Rakesh Khurana.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the members of the class of 2023 class committee for inviting me here today. I am so delighted to be here also with incoming HA President Ty Moore and our featured guest speaker, Larry Wilmore. It's fabulous. So, good afternoon, seniors. Aww. Good afternoon. I thought I was back at MIT where the first time I said that as a faculty member, my students just wrote it down. So, tomorrow is a very solemn day. You will be taking part in the 372nd commencement exercises. One of my predecessor deans described tomorrow as follows, quote, "Commencement ceremonies are wonderfully ritualistic, full of incantation and free of explanation." In other words, they're supposed to be self-explanatory. So thank you and good luck. No, all right, just kidding. Let me give you a quick overview for what's going to happen tomorrow. During the commencement exercises, President Bacow will confer the degrees upon the university's graduates. First, the PhD and master's degrees will be called. Then, the professional schools will be acknowledged in the reverse order of their founding dates. The deans will make a brief case for each of their school's graduates. Each school will offer its own cheers and wave their symbolic totems. Then, finally, the most important moment of the entire ceremony will occur. The college, as the oldest and original part of this university, will be called forth, and then we will get a chance to top them all. We will remind them of the power of our past and the possibilities of our future. So we're going to make some noise tomorrow, right? Right? Fantastic. Then when you settle down, I will begin with salutations to President Bacow, the fellows of the Harvard Corporation, and the Board of Overseers. After these salutations, I will announce that you have fulfilled the faculty's requirements for the first degree in arts and sciences, which you will have, because it's my responsibility to make sure that was actually true. Finally, I will pronounce that, quote, each candidate stands ready to advance knowledge, to promote understanding, and to serve society. In other words, I will pronounce that you have fulfilled the mission of Harvard College and are ready to go forth and become the citizens and citizen leaders of our society. Your families and loved ones will cheer, and their hearts will be bursting with pride for you. Back in the fall of 2019, when I first met you all at convocation, there were certain aspects of your path from that day to this day that probably seemed predictable. You expected that your Harvard trajectory would include spending your first year in the yard, making new friends, trying out new courses and new disciplines, planning your first college summer, dissolving the student government. Too soon? Sorry. Okay. You would then move into a house, choose a concentration, and perhaps study abroad and write a thesis. And finally, you would reach this day and sit in these chairs in front of me as you are right now. But as it turned out, for you, class of 2023, the path to this day has been anything but predictable. When you packed up and had to leave in March of your first year, the road to this day became unexpectedly opaque. The steps along the way suddenly without signposts. Yet, here you are, after all the detours, the twists, and the turns. Today, as we look ahead to your lives beyond Harvard, I want to talk not about the many challenges you overcame to get here, although we are all proud of how you handled these difficult years. Instead, I want to talk about the other unpredictable moments of your Harvard career, the times when you made choices that led you down new paths of exploration, to new friendships, to changes in your concentration or plans for after graduation that you would have never predicted. What I'm talking about here is serendipity. The word serendipity was coined by the English writer Horace Walpole in 1754. It was inspired by a 16th century Persian fairy tale called The Three Princes of Serendip. Serendip was a Persian name for Sri Lanka. As Walpole wrote in a letter to his friend Horace Mann, the story focuses on three brothers, quote, who were always making discoveries by accidents and sagacity of things of which they were not in the quest of, end quote. Perhaps the most famous example of serendipity is the case of Scottish physician Alexander Fleming, who came home from a trip one day in 1928 and found that a petri dish of staph bacteria that had been left on a lab bench had been contaminated by mold, and that near the mold, the bacteria had been destroyed. This unexpected observation led to the discovery of penicillin, a discovery he was not looking for. But instead of seeing something that had not gone according to plan, a dish left on the lab bench, Fleming saw the potential in this unexpected chain of events. As he later described it, quote, one sometimes finds what one is not looking for. When I woke up just after dawn on September 28, 1928, I certainly didn't plan to revolutionize all medicine by discovering the world's first antibiotic or bacteria killer, but I suppose that's exactly what I did, end quote. Long before I knew the story of penicillin, I grew up with reverence for this idea of serendipity, because it was serendipity that brought my family to the United States. In 1970, my father applied to emigrate from India to Uganda just as the political situation there was changing for Indian immigrants. Undaunted, he decided to apply to the next country in the alphabet, which was the United States. His flight to the JFK airport was late, and he missed his connecting flight to Seattle because he heard of a company called Boeing and he thought he might get a job there. So instead, he took a public bus to Manhattan and asked the bus driver where he should go. The bus driver told him to get off at the Port Authority and that there was a YMCA that rented rooms nearby. He went to the YMCA and met another Indian immigrant who told him to look in the newspaper for a job. He found a job as a busboy at night and a bookkeeper during the day and saved up his money to bring my mother, myself, and my brother over to the United States. Each moment of good fortune, a helpful conversation, a job, set him on the path that allowed him to build a life here with his family. My father's path to this country took several unexpected turns that turned out well, but his future, our future, was not inevitable. My parents told us, work hard, be courageous, but also take chances. They understood because of their experiences as refugees that things could go wrong very quickly, and that in those cases, you needed to be adaptable and flexible. My father chose to get on a different bus, to be open to those forks in the road because he was able to see something with potential rather than only something that had not gone according to plan. He didn't just take the road less traveled by, he decided to set out on a road that no one like him had ever traveled before. I trust that during your time at Harvard, you've experienced serendipity. I know I have. It's one of the endearing charms of Harvard that its labyrinth structure of campus life invites the impromptu conversations on the shuttle bus that leads to a new interest, a thesis topic unveiling itself in the midst of a dining hall conversation, a friend for life discovered because you were late for class and sat in a different seat, the discovery of a shared passion leading to the creation of an arts collective of budding artists, or a convergence of enthusiastic people morphing into an unauthorized tailgate in the Mac Quad during the Harvard-Yale game. Really, people, that was super against the rules. Yet, these moments of serendipity require more than just pure luck. Like that fairy tale about the princes, my father's story taught me that serendipity requires the wisdom to recognize and embrace opportunities. It requires keen observation and a perceptive eye that recognizes the extraordinary within the ordinary. As the great philosopher Ferris Bueller put it, life moves fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And serendipity depends on our willingness to diverge from the expected path, which can be unsettling. To do so, we have to admit that our lives cannot be meticulously charted, and that an unwavering focus on reaching a particular goal might make us miss new and exciting paths, all opening up around us. To remain open to those unexpected paths is a tall order in our modern world. In so many aspects of life, the potential for unexpected twists has been replaced by algorithms, by the assurance that everything can be customized just for us. Netflix dictates your next binge, Google Maps charts your way home, and meal prep boxes deliver flawlessly portioned ingredients. The temptation to surrender to the algorithm's soothing assurances and the comfort of our own well-being and our well-crafted plans can blind us to the profound joy of exploration, discovery, and connection, of taking a different route home and seeing something different, of choosing an unfamiliar ingredient only to discover a new favorite, of turning away from the phone to strike up a conversation with a new neighbor. When you leave Harvard, you won't have the dining halls, gen ed classes, the walk to the quad, shuttles, IMs that foster serendipity here. So you will need to create those conditions for yourselves. I hope Harvard has prepared you to recognize these unexpected detours, to use your wisdom to know when to embrace those alternate paths. I hope that you will be open to the magic of unexpected encounters and the joy of venturing beyond the confines of your meticulously planned paths, that you will embrace the potential of the unanticipated and embody the boundless spirit of possibility, that you will seek out the unexpected, forge new relationships, seize the unscripted moments that lie behind and beyond the algorithm's reach. I hope you will seek out what is new and unfamiliar, because it is in the uncharted territories that true growth and true transformation await. And I hope that you will strive to create lives that unlock possibilities, not just for yourselves, but for others. That you will recognize the value of small gestures of kindness, like that of the bus driver who pointed my dad to the YMCA, that generates serendipity for others. Embracing the idea of serendipity is a fundamentally hopeful stance. A colleague who I very much admire told me recently that I was an eternal optimist. I don't think he meant this entirely as a compliment, and I understand that. The times we live in are not easy, and I don't want to minimize the challenges ahead, but I am hopeful about the future. One reason I'm hopeful is because I get to look into the eyes of the future every single day. We can't control everything that happens, and we can't predict how our lives, our world, or even one day will turn out. But we can control how we choose to respond as long as we are paying attention and as long as we are willing to change course. I will hold fast to the torch of optimism, and I hope you will too. Most of all, I hope you will live your lives with joy, with hope, and with the wisdom and grace to navigate the unexpected detours ahead, and that you will leave a trail of serendipity in your wake, enriching the lives of others and leaving the world a more vibrant and interconnected place. Congratulations, class of 2023, Semper Veritas.
Thank you, Dean Khurana. My name is Kelsey Griffin, and I serve as the secretary for the class of 2023. It is my honor to introduce our next speaker, Ty Moore, college class of 2006. Ty is the incoming president of the Harvard Alumni Association, a university-wide and global alumni network. Ty is an entrepreneur and co-founder of VeraViz, an executive coaching and leadership development firm. At VeraViz, he serves as an executive coach, keynote presenter, and facilitator of workshops and retreats for some of the world's most promising leaders and their teams. Previously, he co-founded and led multiple for-profit and non-profit ventures, including 2 nationally recognized tech startups. Since serving as first marshal, starting his senior year, Ty has made it a priority to be actively engaged in the Harvard alumni community. In 2015, he began his service on the Harvard Alumni Association Board of Directors as an elected director. Ty has been involved in the HAA ever since and currently serves as first vice president. Please join me in welcoming Ty Moore.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Kelsey. I really, really appreciate you. Do a little flip here, flip of the page. All right. Good afternoon. Harvard College class of 2023. I am extremely thrilled and honored to celebrate Class Day with you, your families, and your friends. On behalf of our inspiring community of more than 400,000 alums worldwide, congratulations on almost graduating. Check the ink on your diploma. Now, let's cut to the chase. Self-reliance is overrated. Real community, on the other hand, is game-changing, and it has been the difference maker in my life. In fact, I have built real community with my fellow Harvard alums who have been there with me through this roller coaster called life. When our ed tech startup is getting off the ground in 2012, my co-founder, a fellow alum, and I reach out to our Harvard community, telling them about our crowdfunding campaign for our financial education mobile game. And our community shows up in full force. Out of the nearly 700 contributors to our crowdfunding campaign, more than 500 are Harvard alums who help us set the record for the most funds raised by a mobile-only game at that time. Fast forward to 2016, I realized my company is not able to drive enough revenue to sustain our 12-person team, and I break the news to my co-founder. We're forced to lay off everyone, including ourselves. I am absolutely devastated, disappointed, and ashamed of this epic failure. Even still, I show up to my 10-year class reunion. Many of my fellow classmates have accomplished absolutely amazing feats, selling companies, becoming partners at huge firms, obtaining multiple degrees, climbing Mount Everest, or so it seemed. I just laid off my team, and I am unemployed. To my surprise, people are just happy to see me. They view my epic failure as a temporary setback. And they helped me put my experience in perspective, knowing that the real Ty is much bigger than any short-lived defeat. In hindsight, I had built real community with my fellow Harvard alums. They accepted me for who I was. They provided me with support, both when things were great and also when I was legitimately struggling. Most importantly, they reminded me that I was much more than what I did, right? Much more than my accomplishments or failures, that I was a human being, not a human doing. Real relationships and real community last, primarily because they're founded in veritas, truth. Let's break this down. Now, when you keep it real with others, when you keep it 100, they often reciprocate. By simply being human and showing that you're human, you invite other people to truly join you on your journey. I mean, look, it's tempting to reveal only how great your life is, given the Instagramification of the world, hashtag blessed, hashtag crushing it, hashtag winning. Nevertheless, when you remove your veneer, you open the door for others to do the same. By sharing your story, your joy, pain, inspiration, and grief even, and listening to others' stories, you create real moments, leading to real relationships, ultimately building real community. Speaking of which, tomorrow, instantaneously, right after you graduate, almost like magic, you will become a member of the Harvard Alumni Association, the HAA, a global, diverse, and vibrant community that is powered by tens of thousands of dedicated alums, as well as a team of exceptional staff members. In that vein, you'll have plenty of opportunities to engage in our community, from interviewing and connecting with your classmates to attending signature events like Welcome to Your City or The Game. Regardless of your interests, I highly encourage you to join one of the 200 Harvard clubs and become a member of at least one of the 60 global shared interest groups, or SIGs, which are akin to the extracurricular clubs on campus, but for alums. Harvard clubs and SIGs empower you to learn, volunteer, and build real community. At the HAA, we are fostering a community where you can show up as you are and build real relationships with people who are kind, welcoming, and inclusive. I have developed deep, lifelong bonds with fellow alums of all ages, backgrounds, ideologies, and interests through the myriad opportunities the HAA provides. Part of the reason I've stayed so involved is that this community continues to shape who I am as a human being and as a leader. Members of the Harvard College class of 2023, from this point forward, your life is going to become substantially more complex. Amidst the whirlwind that ensues, always remember that you have a home within the HAA, where you are likely to encounter others who will remind you of your own humanity. On behalf of the Harvard Alumni Association, I encourage you to join us. Whether next week, next year, or 10 years from now, the door will be open. Discover where you belong and embrace the fact that building real community is both a choice and perhaps the greatest gift you can bestow upon yourself. Thank you, congratulations, and welcome to the HAA.
Good afternoon. My name is Priyanka Kumar. I'm a resident of Lowell House, and I have the honor of serving as one of the 6 gift marshals selected to lead our class's Senior Gift campaign. Senior Gift is an annual tradition that encourages members of the senior class to come together to donate to the Harvard College Fund in support of one another and of future generations of Harvard students. We'd like to thank the members of the class of 2023 who stepped up to make their senior gift over the past few months. We are so grateful for your participation. The dollars we raised are combined with the annual contributions of alumni and parents, and they will have an immediate impact on the things that make Harvard unique and special to all of us, including financial aid, house life, the arts, athletics, and so much more.
Hello, everyone. my name is Jonathan Zane. I'm another one of your class marshals, gift marshals, and a proud Lowellian. In addition to thanking all of our classmates who participated in the senior gift campaign, we wanted to also give a special shout out to the 60+ volunteers on our 2023 class committee who were instrumental in helping us raise awareness about the impact that the Harvard College Fund has had on our experience and encourage their friends and classmates to contribute to our senior gift campaign. We couldn't have done it without you. As we join the alumni community tomorrow, we hope that each of you will remain engaged and supportive of our Harvard community. We've all been lucky enough to have benefited from the generosity of those who have come before us, and now it is our time to do the same for those who will follow us. Thank you again, and congratulations to all graduating seniors.
Hello, class of 2023 and loved ones. My name is Chitsu Tenzin, or in Tibetan, Tenzin Chotso, and I am one of the program marshals for the class of 2023. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Sterling Bland, our Harvard orator. Sterling is cherished by those around him as a deep thinker and contemplator of life, purpose, and joy. As a concentrator in sociology and African American studies, he is known for his commitment to supporting his community and unifying marginalized voices. As a member of the Harvard community in spaces like Soul Food Christian Fellowship and Indigo Magazine, he is known by friends for his ability to make people feel valued and at ease with a simple smile. Sterling embodies Harvard's mission of producing citizen leaders as he walks through life with his motto, quote, using principles of faith for justice, end quote. And I can say I am genuinely proud to have had the privilege of knowing these aspects about him and introduce his address titled, What Were You Born to Do? So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming lifelong learner, beloved friend, and someone I'm proud to know, Sterling Bland.
Thank you, Chitsu, for the kind introduction. It's an honor to stand before you all today. Here at Harvard, students from a variety of socioeconomic backgrounds encounter one another, walking through the yard, eating in the dining halls, learning in the classroom, and studying in the libraries. The door of opportunity opens for everyone who walks through that old stone gate, perhaps wider for some than for others. But spending years studying, specifically as an undergraduate, the college, it does something to us. It encourages us to believe something about ourselves, which my father always told me growing up, that I was born to do great things, that we were born to do great things. Some of us here today were born more like me. Middle class, relatively well off, destined for greatness. With due effort, we can pass with flying colors. Others were born a little more advantaged, had more opportunities for success. But there are some among us here today who were born more like my father. And still, we are all here. They were born with greater obstacles, fewer resources, and higher barriers to surmount. But my father was not born to do great things. I don't know much about his upbringing. From the hints he gave of his past, I know he was born on 13th and Williams, which used to be the hood in Denver, but is now home to an influx of white, wealthy families. I know that he was the youngest of 8 older siblings, scouring the kitchen cabinets and the refrigerator for food, hungry. I know that when time for school came around, his mother would dig into her pockets and give him the best she had, which was a few dollars, and say, "Son, this is your allowance to go and buy school clothes," and he was expected to travel to a secondhand store on his stolen bike. I don't know how loved he felt in his city. I don't know how many nights he laid awake in his bed, afraid the violence around him would kill him. My father was not born to do great things. At least, not like you and me here today, right? After completing a rigorous Harvard education, it is too easy to believe the lie that we're self-made successes. It becomes too easy to believe the lie that we were somehow destined for greatness, while others were not. It's too easy to believe the lie that those with the capacity, but not the opportunity, school boys and girls down the street in this city who can't imagine themselves at an institution like this, it's too easy to believe the lie that they were simply not born to do great things. It's too easy to believe that somehow we're exceptional. Don't believe the lie. My junior year of college, studied away in dimly lit libraries. My father back home, the despair from 13th and Williams caught up to him. The lingering effects of the poverty and the violence, a deep-seated nihilism kicked in and overtook him. So that Thanksgiving, around that time, I found myself front row of his funeral, wearing a suit jacket something like this, with a purple tie around my neck. I tied it over and over again that morning because I knew that there was a responsibility on my shoulders now. I remember sitting there looking at a sea of purple and gold images from his college fraternity days. And when I think about that moment now, I can still hear his voice speaking to me. He says, "Sterling, son, I told you, I knew you were born to do great things." He would always tell me that. He believed for me maybe what he couldn't for himself. So Harvard College class of 2023, when we leave behind the red brick sidewalks of Harvard Square, the winding banks of the Charles River and the turkey-trodden streets of the Cambridge community, we must not accept the world with its social hierarchies and social inequalities as it is. We must not believe some were born to do great things, but others were simply not as fortunate. Instead, let us use our Harvard degrees not to ravenously pursue our own economic security at the expense of the least of these, but to flood the dark streets of despair with blinding rays of brightness. Let us scour the cold streets of nihilism for those who have begun to believe they were born only to die. And when we find them, let us use our impending wealth. Let us use our impending power. Let us use our impending prestige to resurrect hope within them and bring them back to life. Because the truth is, my father was born to do great things. marvelous things, astounding things. And so, Harvard College, class of 2023, I leave you with one question. What were you born to do? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esther Xiang, and I'm a proud resident of Adams House, and I'm honored to be standing here today with all of you as one of the program marshals for the class of 2023.
And my name is Daniel Sarchi, and I'm also one of the program marshals for the class of 2023. As we celebrate this amazing journey together, let us remember those we have lost during this time. Each one of us here carries a name, a face, a memory that pulls at our heartstrings. It could be a dear friend, a beloved family member, a revered mentor, or an inspiring classmate whose absence is felt in this moment of collective joy. I imagine most of us have lost someone we hold dear in these 4 or so years, or at least know someone who has. Let us take this moment to remember and honor them. One person particularly close to heart for many of us is one of our class's own, Arda Kataltepe. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Julia Kendall and Nicholas Daly, who will speak in remembrance of Arda.
When I look back on my life, it's hard to remember a time before Arda was there. Before he and I would tear around the playground at recess, playing tag and communicating in a made-up language. We met early in elementary school and then grew up together, replacing tag with more sophisticated games like wall ball. But all the while, so much about Arda stayed the same. He was always shamelessly goofy and a little mischievous. He personified the phrase, twinkle in his eye. It's hard to describe, but you could see his face light up, a slight smile forming on his lips, and you knew you were in for something good. He was always infectiously passionate about his interests. I'm not sure there has ever been a bigger fan of the Boston Celtics. He could break down salaries and statistics like an NBA executive, bemoan a missed call, and revel in a good play, all in the same breath. He was also endlessly generous, always putting others before himself. When we were in middle school, he was one of the top tennis players in New England, while I struggled to consistently get the ball over the net. But because I think he knew that I loved being included, he would take time between tournaments to ask me to play, and then chase my errant shots around the court, insisting he enjoyed it. Later, after he was diagnosed with cancer, I almost never heard him talk about it. He preferred to hear how I was, never wanting to be the center of attention.
Like Nick, I've known Arda for as long as I can remember being in school. Weston's a small town, so you get to know people well. He was the smartest kid in our history class, and breezed by every math problem set and physics equation. I was lucky enough to reconnect with him at Harvard through CBE, a consulting group on campus he later became the president of. Our first presentation together, I was presenting a slide I had made, and it had a glaring error dead front and center. The clients immediately pointed it out, and Arda, without hesitation, took over. He claimed the mistake was his own, apologized, and never made me feel bad about messing up. Helping others, covering for his friends, it was second nature to him. But more than hardworking and diligent, he was silly and loving too. I remember teasing him about multitasking a meeting by watching the US Open. I remember spending too many late nights gossiping about decisions in CBE or job applications or people from back home. Our last semester together, we were both overseeing cases. I was new to the role, Arda wasn't. That semester, he would stay up until 4 a.m., helping me, going through presentations, walking me through how to direct people and clients, or even to just let me vent. After that semester, Arda became president. He transformed the club. He hired lawyers, oversaw all presentations and work, checked in with all clients. He encouraged every member to try things they didn't believe they could, and attended to every single need of the club and its members, all the while he was sick. I speak for the entirety of the club when I say we are in awe of his humility, of his kindness, his care for his friends, his intelligence, and everything that made Arda, Arda. Because of all of these qualities, we knew Arda was special. But in the time after he passed, we learned so much from so many different people about how Arda left a deep impact on their lives. There was his thesis advisor at Children's Hospital, who remembers how Arda made progress on his code up until hours before he died, documenting and saving every bit of his work so that the lab could pick up where he left off. Even as his condition deteriorated, his thesis advisor recalls, he treated every day as an opportunity to learn and to leave behind a legacy that his colleagues would be proud to carry on, and that's exactly what we've done.
There was also his friend group from high school that saw Arda as the glue holding them together. They remember his infectious laugh, his love of fried chicken sandwiches, his devotion to his friends and family. They talked about his strengths, of which there are too many to share. On the alto saxophone, he'd make classical pieces sound like they were coming from violins. He'd win statewide academic competitions and shrug it off like it was no big deal. He could get you excited about the most random things, like the intricacies of the Game of Thrones houses. He was always there for his friends, always ready to provide advice, and always ready to go on any adventure. There was only one person I knew who would find anything funny, even in the worst of circumstances, one friend reflects. As he battled cancer for over 8 years, we had some days that were tough, but many more that were perfect. Lastly, there was his sister, Deniz, who remembers her little brother's brilliance and humor, but also the strength and generosity he showed as he allowed her to support him, but still simply be his sister, never his caretaker. As he dealt with unimaginable struggle, he would tease her about her ability to do math, expressing mock concern about how her struggles with integrals would affect her future as a doctor. He was determined to ensure their relationship would not be defined by his illness. With these stories and others in my mind, I think about Arda all the time. When the Celtics can't stop making stupid turnovers, when my motivation is flagging on a project, when a friend needs support. Arda will always remind me to make the most of each day, to not take anything for granted, to be there for people, and to always cherish every bite of a fried chicken sandwich. We love you so much, Arda, and we miss you.
Another classmate close to so many of our hearts, who we remember and give thanks for, Sergio Diaz. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Eugene Veloso, Julio Perez, and Kate Cazares, who will speak in remembrance of our dear friend Sergio.
I always ask people what their favorite movie is, just to get an idea of what kind of person they are. I remember once asking Sergio what his favorite movie was, and it was Good Will Hunting. It was pretty fitting, a brilliant person who still hadn't reached their full potential, eventually showing their skills and natural talent through the help of others. I remember getting to watch the movie alongside Sergio and another roommate, Mohammed, and I immediately understood why he loved the movie. The main character, Will, was shown to be a smart but cocky guy. The first time I met Sergio, I was with Eugene in Annenberg, and Sergio was incredible. He was funny, smart, and confident. Maybe a bit too confident, you know? He would always tell me about the incorrect wording of a single question he'd get wrong at the MCAT, or boast about his new bench press PR. Nevertheless, I was able to relate to him in many aspects, from our similar upbringings, our friend groups back home, and our music taste. In the place where I felt like I didn't belong at times, I had found a friend, a diamond in the rough.
Sergio was a friend to so many, but there was so much more to him than his enduring goofiness and intelligence. He was someone in constant pursuit of the truth, always seeking to challenge his own beliefs and valuing and learning from the perspectives of others. In this pursuit, he embraced a vulnerability and warm-heartedness that welcomed everyone without exception. He knew he was imperfect and always sought to be a better version of himself. His spontaneity was represented not just with random handstands, climbing up buildings he shouldn't, cheesy pickup lines in the D hall that he was just wanting to try out that day, but it was also eating the last top layer of a scoop of a spilled Hefe's bowl on Mount Auburn Street because don't worry guys, this part didn't touch the road. His spontaneity was also his willingness to accompany you for anything, whether it was lounging around, playing a card game, playing bananagrams for hours because he really needed to win every time, taking a zip car to Walden Pond when he didn't even know how to swim, or just being someone that you could always talk to. We will continue to remember Sergio, comforted by the reality that we are a reflection of everything that made him so loved. Every time we watch a sunset, need our back gently cracked, or see a hanging Twix bar in a vending machine begging to be shaken, we are always reminded of him and what he meant to us. He was a loving and fiercely loyal friend who taught us all how to forgive, live spontaneously, and to be unafraid of life and ourselves. To his friends in Miami and everyone that was home to Sergio, may we continue to hold each other through this and fill in each other's stories with laughter and remembrance. To Yvette, your strength is immeasurable and carries us all. We see the truth in Sergio's stories of your resilience, intelligence, sacrifice, and above all, unconditional love.
It'd be impossible to put into a short speech all that Sergio meant to us, but one thing is clear. He left a mark on all of us and everyone he met. He was someone who could brighten up any room with his contagious smile and make us laugh in an instant with his spot-on Pitbull impression. He never did let us forget he was from Miami. He was incredibly smart and talented, acing every exam he took, and the best pianist to have at an impromptu jam session. He was a loving son and a caring friend who always had our backs, both metaphorically and literally. Again, he was very good at cracking backs. As Robin Williams' character says in Good Will Hunting, people call these things imperfections, but they're not. That's the good stuff. And then we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds. I'm glad that we were part of his world. While he may have taken a part of us with him, he left pieces of himself with us, the good stuff, if you will. As much as we wish he was here with us today, I know that he would be extremely proud of all of us. Sergio, we love you and we miss you. You may be gone from our arms, but you will forever be in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing those heartfelt reflections. My name is Kylie Sims, and it is my pleasure to serve as the treasurer for the class of 2023. Today, it is our distinct honor to introduce the recipients of the Richard Glover and Henry Russell Ames Memorial Award. The class of 2023 is comprised of countless individuals who have dedicated their college careers to serving others within the Harvard community and beyond. Despite the impact of their efforts, they often go unacknowledged by our broader community. As such, the purpose and spirit of the Ames Award is to finally shine a light on two unsung heroes in the class of 2023.
My name is Sebastian Pereira, and I am a 2023 Class Committee Program Marshal. On June 19, 1935, Richard Glover Ames and Henry Russell Ames, brothers and Harvard students, gave their lives to save their father, who was washed overboard during a storm off the coast of Newfoundland. Every year since, the Ames Award has been given in their memory to recognize two members of our class who have shown energy in helping others and who exhibit the same heroic character and inspiring leadership as the Ames brothers. The selection committee received a large number of nominations from faculty, faculty deans, tutors, coaches, and fellow students.
I have the honor of introducing the first of our two Ames Award recipients. This awardee is a tireless leader, known for their unreal work ethic and ability to connect deeply with those that they work with. As the staff director of the Harvard Square Homeless Shelter, the only homeless shelter in the country entirely operated by student staff, they led the effort to rebuild capacity after the height of the pandemic. They were on the front lines of meeting with guests about their needs, cleaning bathrooms, de-escalating conflicts, and having difficult conversations. During their 4 years with the organization, their dedication to the cause shone through over and over again. Even while studying abroad, they continued to organize meetings and team bonding activities. To top it all off, they stayed behind for the beginning of winter break to ensure the shelter was sufficiently staffed, and they volunteered to lead the 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift, the busiest and most stressful part of the night. Sacrificing hours of sleep to lead overnight shifts is particularly admirable given that they were simultaneously managing a full course load. While their dedication to the cause is impressive in and of itself, what is even more impressive is their positive attitude and warmth. They are quick to check in with staff members that have had difficult shifts or seem to be struggling to balance working at the shelter with other aspects of their lives, which creates a deep sense of trust within their team. It is clear that their hard work has made a deep impact in the Harvard and Cambridge community that is worthy of recognition. Please join me in welcoming our first Ames Award winner to the stage, Salma Al-Said.
It is my privilege to introduce the second of our two distinguished honorees. Our recipient, a Marine Corps veteran, has committed his college journey to uplifting and serving the veteran community at Harvard. As the president of the Harvard Undergraduate Veterans Organization, or HUVO, he has worked tirelessly to make significant changes for the betterment of his peers. After graduating from a small high school class of merely 4 students and briefly attending the University of Oklahoma for 1 semester, Hudson embarked on a remarkable 5-year period of service before starting his first year at Harvard. His journey here has been far from conventional. Despite the challenges of his academic commitments and extracurricular activities, he single-handedly spearheaded the creation of the HUVO website. This platform is now a beacon for prospective veteran students. His dedication to this cause was recognized by the Office of Admissions and Financial Aid, who sought to formalize his role, making him a guiding light for veteran students to come. He also met and worked with several offices within the college, such as the First Year's Experience Office and the Office of Career Services, to make Harvard more accessible and welcoming to veterans. As we transition to in-person activities this year, he continued to demonstrate his commitment to service. He managed the Veterans Day Challenge, an event that brought together hundreds of participants to raise funds for mental health services for veterans and their families. He asked not what Harvard can do for him, but what he can do for Harvard. Please join me in welcoming our second Ames Award winner to the stage, Hudson Miller.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Lee, and I am one of the program marshals for the class of 2023. Next, Amelia Cosentino will deliver the Ivy Oration, a profound and playful reflection about our time here at Harvard. At Harvard, Amelia has played a lot. She's played tuba with the Harvard Radcliffe Orchestra. She's played improv games with On Thin Ice, which I have been paid to say is Harvard's best improv troupe. She's played Subway Surfers on her phone instead of going to class. And she's played the fool as a delinquent and an occasional artist on the Harvard Lampoon. Originally from Long Island, New York, Amelia is proud that her first experience at Harvard was cleaning toilets for dorm crew as a pre-frosh when we were all freshmen, which is already more chores than I've ever done back at home. Amelia is a talented comic artist, depicting characters that she describes as funny, relatable, and more than a little bit weird. Amelia also has a knack for making memes. She brought these talents to campus with her our freshman year when she made a Humtan account on Instagram. She hopes to go on to work in animation, creating characters or storyboards for animated shows. Amelia, like me, is a resident of Kirkland House. Good houses come in small packages, and given Amelia's height and my height when I'm not wearing Nike Air Force shoes, Amelia is no exception. With that, I could not be more excited to introduce my friend and our Ivy orator, Amelia Cosentino.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Harvard family esteemed faculty, honored guests, and at least one person on the side chat leaderboard, it's an honor to address you. Family, you've flown in from everywhere, from the Upper East Side to Midtown. You're tired, and what better a setting for a siesta than sitting out in the heat listening to a speech by not your kid. I want to make sure this speech is accessible to people who don't feel like listening to it. So here are some rules of thumb. If I ever list anything, just laugh after the third thing. If Dean Khurana laughs, you laugh. If he cries, start tweeting. And as for COVID, I think it's played out, so I thought, let's get all the buzzwords out of our systems right now. Eviction day, uncertain times, Zoom, Zoom midterm, Zoom fatigue, Zoom hookup, Central Park, Zoom. And finally, I know some of you must be wondering, why is it even called class day? Nobody goes to class today. To which I respond, sounds like an average day at Harvard for me. We have all experienced very different Harvards. Some of us were Widener fiends, others Le Monsters. Some of us did improv, others had sex. Going forward, some of us will do finance, others will do finance. Others will do finance. But there is one thing that united us all: blacking out to Sway Lee. There's also a second thing, the transformative experience. Have we transformed? Sure, Harvard has changed us. Nerds transformed into nerds, but it's okay now. English majors transformed into econ majors. And the world around us changed as well. Breakfast went from hot to continental. Marijuana went from illegal in the state of Massachusetts to, that one didn't really change anything, actually. But transformation isn't always good. Just ask the doctor who gave you your first checkup after freshman fall. Right now, I'm going to do something I never did on any of my philosophy papers. I'm going to clearly state my thesis. In this speech, I will argue that these past 4 years at Harvard, all of us have gone beyond transformation. For example, Harvard has also been a humbling experience. We have all failed here. I mean, I haven't. I guess you guys have. That sucks! Of course, I'm kidding. The first of many failures I experienced here was getting rejected from the debate club. Because when they said, you don't have to have any prior experience for this, that was as truthful as the Crimson Key Club saying, you don't have to be rich for this. Or the Speed Club saying, you don't have to be rich for this. Or the Hasty Pudding, you get the point. We failed to make clubs, we failed to make friends, to make it to Gen Ed sober. Some of us even failed to ever make it onto Dean Khurana's Instagram. Will I ever be enough for you? That's the only reason I did this speech, actually. But the silver lining of failure is that it taught us that it is in fact possible to enjoy doing something without being good at it, as the Harvard guys I've hooked up with already knew. Harvard has also been a collaborative experience. Some people disagree that this is a good thing, like the TF who graded my and my best friend's Hum 10 midterm side by side. But collaboration is very important. I learned something fascinating in Ec 50 lecture the one time I looked up from browsing Reddit. Even in economically diverse places such as Harvard, people still associate with peers extremely socioeconomically similar to themselves. Now, sometimes it feels hard to relate to people with vastly different experiences from ours. Take the language barrier. I speak English, so whereas I would say, that party was awesome, let's do it again sometime. Someone who speaks Fly Club would say, bro, Gatsby was a movie. Trent, you were heinous last night, dude. We gotta run that back. Now, rather than avoiding this interaction because I'm confused, I instead choose to approach it with an open mind and a covered drink. I also learned from Ec 50, according to research by Kirkland's very own faculty dean, economist David Deming, that to advance in the workplace, it is essential to have good social skills. Sorry, STEM majors. So go make connections with people unlike yourself. You may learn something new. For example, I'm middle class, but I have learned so much from rich people, like the address of their Hamptons home, what time the party starts. Now, we know Harvard has been a formative experience, but it has also been a FOMO-ative experience. For those of you unfamiliar with FOMO, because you're the siblings who always had better social lives than us, FOMO is not some Harvard club we all blocked on Gmail, but rather the fear of missing out. Class of 23, stop obsessing over all you might have done. I want you all to think right now about one thing that you're proud you have done. For me, it's your mom. Now, I know it is daunting to be compared to all the famous Harvard alumni. This school has produced the most brilliant thinkers, statespeople, leaders, visionaries, but we can't all be Jared Kushner. The most any of us could be expected to do is to maximize our own potential, like I did with your mom last night. The point is, you don't have to do everything. It is okay to relax sometimes. It is okay to abandon the Sigma grind set. It is extremely okay to not know what the Sigma grind set is. We must start to value rest as a virtue, not as a problem. One of my professors had a motto: there are no problems, only opportunities. Hear that, Mom? There are no drinking problems. I hope Harvard has been, above all, an affirmative experience. I hope it's reminded you of what is good about yourself. Finance bros, I promise there's something. So remember, you've done much more at Harvard than you probably think. You've performed, you've volunteered. Some of you even volunteered and put it on your resume right after. My point is, you did so much more than just study in Widener. You also had sex in Widener. Unless you do a cappella, then you just studied. Moving on is scary. It will be scary to detach from the nutritious womb of Adam's brain break and to be birthed anew at the Johnston Gate. But the embryonic life should never last forever, and this uterus metaphor should never have been extended. You will have days where it will be difficult even to leave the house. Leave the house, I hear CS majors asking. Yes, one day you will have to do that for the very first time. But if you find it unconvincing to see the silver linings of certain challenges, my advice is to instead recall a time something even worse happened. For example, if you think the COVID lockdown was the worst part of our first year of college, please recall who was president in 2019. If you were disappointed to get Kirkland, please remember there are people who not only got Kirkland, but also are a Jared Kushner. It could be worse, unless you're Jared Kushner. So in light of all that is scary, please remember, you will be okay. And that is as certain as Ken C. Griffin's children getting into Harvard. Class of 23, We did it. We made it through 4 years without ever opening Slack. Now it's just us and our various addictions against the world. Remember, to quote Winnie the Pooh, that you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter on Adderall. May your futures hold fulfilled dreams and unfumbled bags. Some closing advice. STEM kids, get off your high horses. Humanities kids, get on unemployment benefits. Hug your friends tightly today. And don't forget, this is your last chance to say, Widener, well, I haven't even met her. I wish you all health, prosperity, and W-Riz. Congratulations.
Thank you, Amelia. I don't know how I'm going to be able to follow that one up, but I'm pretty sure our next speaker will be able to do so. Hello, everyone. My name is Callista Scoris, and I'm a program marshal for the class of 2023. It is my privilege to announce this year's featured speaker, Larry Wilmore. In addition to being a comedian and a television producer, Larry Wilmore is a masterful storyteller, social commentator, and thought-provoking force in the entertainment industry. Born with an uncanny ability to find humor in even the most complex and sensitive topics, Larry has fearlessly tackled issues of race, politics, and culture, paving the way for meaningful conversations and pushing the boundaries of what comedy can achieve. His career spans decades, beginning as a writer for hit television shows like In Living Color and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He went on to make a name for himself on The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore, as well as The Daily Show. He's also well known for producing the television show Blackish and creating the sitcom The Bernie Mac Show, which earned him an Emmy Award in 2002. Personally, though, I know him best from his 2 guest appearances on episodes of The Office, which he helped produce. Today, Larry stands before us not only as an accomplished comedian, but also as a voice of reason, an advocate for justice, and an inspiration to those who dare to challenge conventions. As we embark on this new chapter of our lives, let's embrace his words with an open mind, a spirit of humor, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Thus, it is my great pleasure to introduce the one and only Larry Wilmore.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me get that speech out of the way. Has anybody talked about serendipity yet? No? Oh, shoot, I can't do that. Well, thank you. I am so honored to be here. Distinguished faculty, Harvard students, parents, class 2023. I'd like to start off by saying, and I mean this with all respect, what up, 2023? What up? 2023. It's not gang symbols, it's 2023. It's pretty good. Right. No, I'm truly honored to be here. Actually, I was a bit shocked when I was asked. I was like, did somebody cancel? Like, how did I get asked? But sure enough, I asked this very impressive group of students behind me. They said, no, Larry, you were our first choice. You were our only choice. I was like, really, you guys? They were like, yeah, Larry, we love you. And I'm like, I love you too, you guys. We all hugged and took a picture. It's going on the Dean's Instagram. It was all good. It was all good. And as a side note, I should say that as a member of the Writers Guild of America, I'm actually on strike right now. So, yeah, it's a little awkward. I know. I know. If anybody wants to chant, pay those writers, that's okay. That's okay. I'm not really supposed to be writing speeches, but I'm like, hey, man, this is Harvard. A silly strike isn't going to keep me from this honor, right? That's right. And a big shout out to my boy ChatGPT-4 for helping a brother out. Yeah. Give it up for AI, you guys. Yeah. Actually, that's not true. I've never used ChatGPT-4. I've used the black version, ChatGPT-4. Have you guys heard about that? Yeah. Oh, it's very helpful. Very helpful. ChatGPT-4. Are white people invited to the cookout? Traditionally, white people have not been allowed at the cookout. Thanks, ChatGPT-4. I appreciate that. All the black people watching this on YouTube will get that joke. Thank you very much. And since you guys brought up race, how about a hand for your incoming new leader, Claudine Gay, Harvard's first black female president, you guys. Yeah. That's right. Whoa. Man. Harvard. Oh, my God. Good for you, Harvard. Look at you, Harvard, erasing that legacy of slavery, one black president at a time. I see you. I see you, Harvard. Well done. Well done. But in seriousness, so I've been doing a lot of careful thinking about what I should share with you, as well as a healthy amount of last-minute panic-stricken procrastination-induced, quickly cobbled together words of wisdom, which you guys are familiar as students working like that. I like the balance of those two dynamics, but if I can give you an overall view first, there's two things I'd like you to take away from this afternoon, okay? Number one, this is very important. Do everything I'm about to tell you. Don't think about it, just do it. Trust me, you'll be happy you did, all right? Okay. Number two, don't do anything anybody tells you to do, including me. At the end of the day, believe your own judgment. You'll be glad you did. There you have it. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. That's supposed to be. No, seriously, I've had many people and many things that have helped me along the way in life, and I'll share some of my favorites. Because people always ask me those questions. Larry, what guided you? You know, what are the things that you have gone by? And some of it you may find helpful, some not. Some of it's kind of funny, and some of it, you know, is kind of philosophical in some ways. But hopefully there'll be something in here for everybody. Now, one of the first things I came up with, kind of as a guide, and I came up with this years ago, you guys. I didn't actually make it up. These sayings were already out there, but I put them together in an interesting way as a kind of philosophy, you know. And these are not some how to be successful tips, you know, far from me to come to Harvard to tell you how to be successful. But these are more like for times when you feel stuck, you know, or you're in a rut. Because most of the time in our lives, we're looking for information, right? I mean, it's why Google makes billions of dollars. But many times what we really need is clarity or peace, right? So these are sayings I've used to calm me down when my brain gets a little too cluttered or I'm a little too overwhelmed. And here it is, 3 things, okay? The first covers a good 95% of every situation. It is what it is. 95%, you guys, I'm telling you, it is true. It sounds silly, but whatever situation leaves you vexed, it is what it is, 95%. Well, how come nobody? It is what it is. Well, I don't understand whether it is what it is. Well, why isn't it this way? It is what it is. But how can anybody vote for Trump? It is what it is. Now the second, thank you very much. The second covers about 4% after the 95%, and it's for those times when you feel a bit flummoxed, right, and you're unsure about your course of action, okay? I love this one. This is my favorite. Do what you got to do. Right? I know it sounds simple. I'm telling you guys, this fills so many gaps. But how do I do what you got to do? But what if I have to do what you got to do? But my job wants me to move. Do what you got to do. But I got kids. What if I have to do what you got to do? My parents paid a lot for my education. I just want to hang out and get high. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do isn't necessarily productive, by the way. Not all the time. It is what it is. Do what you got to do, okay? Now, the third pearl of pseudo-wisdom covers the 1% that's left, okay? It's for when you're trying to take it to the next level or, you know, see some kind of improvement in your life or just unsatisfied with where you're headed, all right? Play better. It is what it is. Do what you got to do. Play better. I got to find a way to make more money. Play better. I can't seem to hold on to a relationship, but play better. Man, show business is so hard. How do I break in? Play better. Or be in better plays. Either of those work, actually. I love play better, you guys. Play better forces you to put the attention on yourself and to put your destiny in your own hands. Because so many times we feel, especially as young people, that the forces that control everything are against us, right? That the system is rigged, that the man is always going to try to keep a brother down. Well, that one is true. Actually, I mean, we can barely barbecue in a park these days, right? But Even if all these things are true, there's no better way to give you a shot at whatever your target is than focusing on your own improvement. And it's funny, because this credo is always used in sports, and nobody ever questions it, right? What do the Lakers have to do to beat the Nuggets? Play better. I wrote that one the other day. So, now they've lost and I'm sad. But it's funny, rarely do we apply this simple logic to our own life circumstances, right? It's okay to do it in sports, but we rarely do it for ourselves. And it's amazing how many of us don't take the time to really think about our lives in a way where we have control over our own destiny. Many of us just fall into something that seems like the right thing at the time, and then years later say, how the hell did I get here? And the fact is that most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do planning their lives. It is what it is. Do what you got to do. Play better. Now, I know this sounds simple, but there have been many really rough times in my own life when I've had doubts about so many things, thought about quitting, etc., things like that. Just sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. Why? Why is this happening to me? And then it is what it is would just pop into my head. I would laugh and I would just keep going. Now, one of the questions that many of you may face in the coming years is figuring out what you're going to do with your life, right? Do I try to make a lot of money, or should I find something meaningful? Do I want to be my own boss, or do I want to work for somebody? Do I want to do what feels safe, or do I want to take a risk? Well, these aren't easy answers. There aren't easy answers to any of these because it's hard to get clarity about your life when you're young. It's just difficult. And I struggle with these myself. And then I was lucky enough to go through an experience while in college that helped to give me some direction in my life. I actually wrote a short essay about it a couple of years ago for a special event. But if you'll indulge me, I'll share it with you here, okay? All right, it's called Why I Haven't Worked in 30 Years. That's it. I always have to act like I'm in an improv class. And here it is. I'm sorry, we can't afford it. I know what you mean. In fact, the Kenny Brews down the street were saying the same thing, but once they took a look at all the volume library had to offer in one book and weighed that against how important education is to them for their children, they told me they couldn't afford not to get it. I would love to show you a few of the things that changed their minds. Do you have a place where we can sit down? Sure, come in. An answer to an objection. This is the term for one of the many memorized responses I learned to sell books door to door along with dozens of other college students who made the same trip to Knoxville, Tennessee in the summer of '82. It was the summer before my final year in school, and it was also the summer when I decided to never work for a living. There are many things I wanted to do and be when I was a kid. They included astronaut, athlete, scientist, magician, clergyman, comedian, teacher, psychologist, actor. It was normal for me to spend my free time working on a math puzzle or a basketball move and a magic trick in like the same afternoon. But whenever I thought seriously about what I wanted to do for a living, my mind always divided my future into two possible roads, the practical and the dream. Now, as a product of a broken family and as a result of having spent my formative years with 5 siblings and a single mom at the edges of poverty, it felt irresponsible of me not to think practically. Right? And as much as I was tempted to try life in showbiz, my ears were always filled with get your education, get a good job, play by the rules. So the thought of following my dreams and becoming a comedian filled this Catholic school-raised kid with legacy guilt. But I remember one clarifying moment I had as a teen when my brother and I looked up at our ceiling one day and saw a hole looking back at us, realizing that our roof had literally caved in. We looked at each other and vowed that would never happen to us in our adult life. And the question I formed early on in my life was not where I was going to end up, but how. By the summer of '82, I was in my 3rd year in college, theater major, feeling directionless and not confident at all. I felt like I was possibly throwing away an important time in my life, chasing a foolish dream and not listening to the well-meaning people around me who continually reminded me to have something I can fall back on. My response to that had always been that I didn't view my life as a series of fallbacks, but as a series of leap forwards. And even though I always delivered that line with a confident smile and smirk, lurking underneath was terror and unease. And one day before the end of the school year, I was wandering aimlessly through the halls when I came upon an ad that promised thousands of dollars to students who were willing to spend their summer selling books door to door in another part of the country. I was desperate in need of money and an escape and thought that I might be able to make enough to even buy a car. Like the Southwest Airlines ad that says, want to get away? I did and signed up. I feel healthy, I feel happy, I feel terrific. That was the battle cry we were taught to say every morning before we went out to sell books. It was one of the many scripted ploys we were given as budding young salespeople about to be unleashed into the world. And students from all over the country were gathered together for a week in Knoxville to learn all the tricks and patter you need to convince Mr. and Mrs. Johnson's checkbook to buy some books from you, even though their faces kept telling you no. It was an exhilarating time. Every morning we would gather together in a hotel conference room and hear inspirational speeches, pep talks, survival strategies, play out possible scenarios. And at the end of the week, we were told which part of the country we would be selling books. I was going to Rhode Island, and man, I really couldn't wait. As a theater major, it was easy for me to memorize all the stiff greetings and answers to objections we were given. And if Mr. and Mrs. Johnson thought they were going to resist my memorized charms, they were mistaken. I was going to crush this. I felt healthy. I felt happy. I felt terrific. I felt horrible. I was terrible at selling books. Nothing I did seemed to work very well. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson did not care about my answers to their objections. They said no, and they meant it. Within a week, I was devastated. My goal was to try and sell 6 books a day, but 3, like at the absolute minimum. I'm not sure if I sold 2 books for the entire week. After a month, it wasn't much better. All of my hopes and dreams of making enough money to buy a car were slipping away faster than common sense at a Trump rally. I'll wait a little on that one. That's okay. No, it's okay. No matter how much healthy, happy, terrific my mornings, by the afternoons, I felt ready to give up. One day, while riding my bike through an intersection in Fall River, I was sideswiped by a car and was sent flying to the sidewalk. I sat stunned for a few minutes, not quite believing what had happened. Amazingly, I wasn't hurt. I told the distraught driver I was okay and slowly climbed back on my bike, feeling dazed and disoriented. Within minutes, I was crying uncontrollably. What was I doing here? I hated selling books. I hated Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. I wanted to go home. And for some reason, I talked myself into staying. I think it was a combination of hearing the sympathetic, supportive, but somewhat disappointed tone in my mom's voice as I told her my plans in between my sobs, and the cold realization that I was about to quit and give up, something my ultra-competitive athletic side would never have dreamed of doing. I had never given up on anything in my life. So I sucked it up and literally climbed back onto my bike and kept going. And it's funny, but there's something about honestly admitting defeat that kind of frees you up. I still hated selling books, but I no longer let that stop me from knocking on doors. The rest of the summer was a somewhat surreal combination of experiencing the frustration of not being very good at sales, the exhilaration of the freedom of accepting that, but enjoying my time anyway, and the fascination of spending time with strangers in their own living rooms. I met so many incredible people that summer in various degrees of struggle and success, and focusing on them really helped me take the attention off of myself and any pity that tried to creep into my bones, right? There was one family in particular who had such a profound effect on me that I still think about them from time to time. It was towards the end of the summer, and I was in a particularly poor section of Fall River, Mass. There are many first-generation Portuguese families in this area, many of whom did not speak much English, and I was struggling to get people to even listen to my entire pitch, right? So about to pack it in one day, I instead climbed up some stairs to one last door. I said my pitch, and to my surprise, the gentle-seeming man let me in and led me to his living room. Oh, man. I was so excited. I hadn't been in the living room all day, and I tore into my pitch, right? And as I was talking, he was joined by his wife and their 3 small children. I really hammed it up for the kids, who literally grabbed the colorful children's books that were part of the collection right from my hands. Man, sensing victory and happy that I might end my day in a great sale, I went right into the close. And although the father's English was spare, as soon as I mentioned how much it would cost, I could see his face completely understood the price. And in a poignant, silent moment, I looked into his disappointed eyes and immediately knew that he really couldn't afford these books. So I dispensed with any rote answers to objections, not wanting to damage his pride, thanked him politely, and got up to leave. As I was walking to the door, I noticed there was not one book in the house. I was really struck by this sight. And the air of excitement that had filled the room moments before, it now took on a different meaning. I tried giving the dad my samples. We took orders and delivered the books at the end of the summer, but his pride wouldn't allow it, and so I left. I cried all the way home. I cried a lot that summer. I spent a lot of time in many homes that summer, and the overwhelming recurring theme I noticed was how many people seemed unhappy with their lives. Maybe it was their choice of job, choice of spouse, or just a general unease about the future, but it was unmistakable. I vowed to myself that I would choose happiness and fulfillment above all else in my life's direction. I knew it didn't matter how much money I made, how much status I had, or what kind of things I could accumulate. I had to pour myself into doing something meaningful, or there was no point. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So, I like partial clapping. That's great. Thank you, guys. I decided to choose a path for myself, and whatever I did for a living was the physical manifestation of walking down that path. I remember saying to myself, I'm never going to work again. I'm only going to walk. In the last few days of the summer were spent delivering the book orders to the families whose objections were somehow melted by my answers. There weren't a lot of deliveries, and I didn't make enough money to buy that car I wanted, but I felt good. On the last day, I carried one extra set of books I had ordered up a set of stairs and laid them down quietly on the welcome mat at the front door. Luckily, no one was home. And I stealthily tiptoed down the stairs and got out of there, hoping I wouldn't run into anybody. As I rode away on my bike, I couldn't stop smiling, imagining how excited those 3 kids were going to be when they got home. So I want to repeat a phrase. That's the essay. Thank you very much. I want to repeat. Thank you. It's kind of a rolling applause now, right? It's kind of rolling. Like it starts here and then it rolls. No. I want to repeat a phrase from that essay, you guys. I decided to choose a path for myself, and whatever I did for a living was the physical manifestation of walking down that path. Because sometimes people will ask me, when did I consider myself a success? And I tell them, the minute I decided to follow my life's passion. Success wasn't a destination, it was a journey. That's what the path is. That's why I say I haven't worked in 30 years, because when you choose a path for yourself, it never feels like work, only a walk. One of the biggest obstacles you'll face in the years ahead is fear, okay? Fear can be so destructive in our lives. On a global scale, fear is at the root of war, it's at the root of hatred, of bigotry, of division, and some of the ugliest human movements. On a personal scale, fear is usually the culprit that prevents us from doing the things in life that we are meant to do but are afraid for whatever reason. And fear can come from anywhere. It can come from your parents who mean well. It can come from friends who think they're being supportive. It can come from the culture. It can definitely come from haters. Haters love throwing fear at you, right? But the most paralyzing type of fear always starts inside of us. Here's what fear does to your life, okay? I want you to remember this. Fear wants you to be a prisoner of your past and a terrorist of your future, okay? I'll say it again. Fear wants you to be a prisoner of your past and a terrorist of your future. Class of 2023, I want you to be fearless in your lives. I want you to do the things you never imagined you could do. I want you to be the people you always knew you should be. I want you to create the world that we all wish it could be. And I want you to have all the happiness you were absolutely intended to have. Class of 2023, I want you to be fearless, okay? And while you're being fearless, I want you to try to remember this. Don't let your feelings bring you down, okay? You cannot rely on how you feel about something at any particular time to get you through life. Could you imagine if you had relied on your feelings to get your degree? You never would have shown up to class. Focus your life on what your action should be and where you need to show up, okay? No matter what happens, keep showing up, okay? They won't tell you this, but there were many times when your parents did not feel like parenting, okay? You were very low on their list of things they were enthused about. All the parents are laughing right now because they know that's true. But it didn't matter how they felt. They showed up, okay? Show up in your own life the way your parents showed up for you. I wish I had known the value of showing up for yourself during my school years. I was always a really smart kid growing up. The other kids used to call me the professor, right? Because it seemed like I had the answer for everything. I was always the teacher's pet. It was terrible. But I loved it, you know. I can remember in the 3rd grade, I would finish my math test so quickly that the teacher would let me correct the other students' tests. I know, I hate me too, you guys. But I always prided myself on not only getting good grades, but being one of the best, you know? And it was never a competition with other students. It was always a competition with myself. I was one of the top students in my 8th grade class and got a scholarship to go to Catholic high school. But when I got to high school, things changed a bit. I always felt different, but that difference was magnified here. It was mostly a middle-class to upper-middle-class student body, but everybody seemed rich to me, you know? My parents were divorced and my mom was raising 6 kids the best she could. We had 0 money. When you've had tuna helper for Christmas, it's hard to relate to somebody's ski vacation over winter break, right? And I was also one of the few black students at a predominantly white school, and I lived in a predominantly black neighborhood. So I never felt like I fully belonged in either. Like white kids would make fun of me for being black, and then black kids would make fun of me for not being black enough, right? Like I remember I used to get teased for not talking black, and I used to think, well, that doesn't make sense because I'm black and I'm talking. Ergo. And even though I got involved in many things at school, I've never felt like I truly fit in. I used to say about school, I feel like I'm at a family reunion, but I'm not in the family. My home life was not any better. The emotional toll on my mom in those days was pretty bad. And looking back now, I can see she probably had a nervous breakdown and some depression. People didn't talk about it that much in those days. And I was frustrated because there was nothing I could do, and it always just made me feel a bit powerless. You know, my schoolwork started slipping in my sophomore year, and by the time I was a senior, I barely had the grades to graduate. I just couldn't focus on studying. I chose every opportunity to escape into sports or theater or just making my friends laugh. In fact, I'll share this with you guys. If not for the generosity of my history teacher who allowed me to entertain the class, true story, for my final so I wouldn't get an F, I'm not sure I would have even graduated, as hard as that is to believe. He was really an angel when I look back. Here's the thing. I was fully aware of my potential, but I was so afraid in those days. Afraid to be myself. Afraid to be authentic. Afraid of the truth. Afraid of the future. Just afraid. Fear and shame. Fear was keeping me a prisoner of the past, and shame was terrorizing my future. I dealt with those feelings in college, but there was something about knocking on doors that summer in Rhode Island, regardless of my fears, that taught me so much. And seeing how much alike most people were, even with the most striking surface differences. I've never let fear and shame guide me since that time. They still pop up now and then, but when they do, I just look at them and say, sorry, not interested. Like so many of my non-buying book customers. I want to thank you guys for inviting me here today and indulging me with these anecdotes from my past and attempts at advice. And I'd like to leave you with one last thing to keep in mind when you're on your journey, okay? Don't just look at your life's work in terms of what you can get out of it. Instead, approach it in terms of what you can put into it. Make a contribution in everything you do. Pour your passion, love, desire, integrity, intelligence, and generosity of spirit into a world that desperately needs it. The world is a hostile place, class of 2023. It is what it is. It almost takes all of your energy just to stay sane from all the crap. Do what you got to do. But know that whatever your authentic self is, whatever it is that makes you different, makes you stand out, whatever might make you the object of ridicule from others or cause fear and shame from you, embrace that, okay? That uniqueness is gold. Take that, throw it into the world, and know that as of right now, class of 2023, you are already a success. Success is not in your future, guys. It is a present condition. All you have to do now, get on your path, walk that walk, always keep it 100% real, wave to the haters, acknowledge your obstacles, sorry, not interested, and let your life not just be an example for others to follow, but an inspiration to fill people's hearts of a life well lived. Play better. Thank you very much. Congrats to the class of 23. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Good luck to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry, for your words. In this pivotal moment in our lives, it's both inspiring and comforting to hear from someone who has such a strong grasp of who he is and how he can make a difference in the world. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with such humility and lightheartedness. We have a lot to learn from you. My name is Chibike Iwakwe, and I'm honored to serve as the second marshal for the class of 2023. Witnessing our class's resilience and fortitude during our time here has been both a privilege and a joy. And today's ceremony has been an incredible celebration of the class of 2023's accomplishments, as well as the relationships we've formed today. 4 years ago, many of us sat together for our first time at the first year convocation, and in many ways, we're the same as we were back then. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to conquer the world. Maybe sans the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed part, but ready to conquer the world. At the same time, we're actually quite different from the students who sat in those seats back then. We built new relationships, discovered new passions, maybe even tried out new hairstyles. As much as it pains me to say it, we might have actually transformed. We had no idea then what the next 4 years at Harvard would have in store for us. But little did we know just how much was going to change in our lives and in the world. We're a very different class from the one we were in the fall of 2019. Joining us today are our friends formerly from the class of 2022, who took a short detour en route to graduation. We are so lucky to have you, had you for an extra year, and to call you members of our graduating class. Looking around Tercentenary Theater, your eyes likely encounter a sea of familiar faces. Classmates you met in Edinburgh, or had a gen ed group project with, or nearly missed a quad shuttle with. I think a perfect word to encapsulate this would be serendipity. And actually, the origin of serendipity is a fairy tale of the three princes of Serendip. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the ChatGPT version. But as Harvard College students, being able to know and recognize so many familiar faces in our class is special. It's a privilege. In these last days together, don't take this privilege for granted. Now's the time to reflect on all the decisions you've made that have led you here, and to the people that are sitting around you. And this is the end of our college journeys together, and we'll be scattered around the world and the country come Friday. Today, we're here to celebrate together. Thank you to everyone who helped us along the way and who are joining us to celebrate today. Friends, family, and faculty, it's good to see your faces. And to the class of 2023, congratulations. It's really been a hoot. I can't wait to see the incredible things that each of you does next, and I'm already looking forward to the next time we reunite. To conclude our program today, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our Class A Otis. They will commemorate our 4 years together with music, perhaps the most powerful means of reflection. The Class Ode will be performed by the Otis and 5 others. Clara Wen, accompanied by Joanna Boyland, Alina Dong, Matthew Miyasaka, Abigail Obeng-Marnu, and Louisa Kowski. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
soon reunited.